Welcome back, our dear viewers. We continue our special coverage for the current visit by German Chancellor Angela Merkel to Egypt. And they held a press conference, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and visiting Chancellor Angela Merkel, during which they discussed many issues of mutual concern, the means of combating terrorism, the efforts that should be exerted in order to fight the terrorism, the situation in Libya, the situation in Syria, and many other files of importance. To shed more light on the visit by German Chancellor Angela Merkel to Egypt, we are joined over the phone by His Excellency Ambassador Reda Farahat, former assistant to the Foreign Minister. Hello, sir.
Hello, yes.
Yes. Sir, we have witnessed a few moments ago, we have watched the joint press conference between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and German Chancellor Angela Merkel after their talks in El Ittihadiyya Palace. How do you see the most important points which were tackled during the press conference?
Yes, at the outset, I would like to mention a phrase in German.
Yes.
It says, alle Leute sind Brüder. It means all men are brothers.
Yes.
And Chancellor Merkel personified this mantra. She, her reputation has been enhanced by her humanitarian attitude towards the refugees when she opened the door of Germany to receive hundreds of thousands of refugees escaping from the ravages of war, especially from Syria. And one of the most important problems facing Germany is and the rest of Europe is that of the illegal immigration.
Indeed.
And although Chancellor Merkel was forthcoming in receiving the refugees, still this constituted a pressure from the German society because somehow it could disrupt their way of living.
Yes.
So this is one thing. The idea of combating terrorism has been in the conference prominent point, and the question of human rights. Now, as President Sisi pointed out, that you adhere to human rights. Human rights are observed, but in face of terrorism, you have to face it drastically, and there should be a balance between human rights, the question of human rights, and the question of national security.
Indeed.
So this is one. The other thing is that Chancellor Merkel referred to the root causes of terrorism, and she said that the problems inherent in the Middle East should be addressed. And this is very much so. So on the one hand, there should be a solution for developmental problems. On the other hand, the question of enlightened discourse, and this is also very clear because in her visits to scheduled visits to His Virtue, the Sheikh of Al-Azhar, and His Eminence, the Pope Tadros.
Yes, sir.
So, and then again, there is the question our President referred to, is that they worry about the question of minorities.
Yes.
And this coincided happily with the declaration of Al-Azhar that the question is not, that here we don't have minorities, but we have equal rights and of the citizenship.
Yes.
So, and they must, I think she has seen for herself that in Egypt there is a spirit of tolerance, that everybody is against any encroachment about our brothers, the Copts, and this is one thing. The other thing is the upheavals in the region.
Yes.
And that Egypt, on her part, is adamant on preserving the unity and integrity of the Arab countries,
yes.
and that political solutions are the only way to reach settlements for these problems, these crises in the area.
Yes.
And I think the Chancellor now has seen for herself that she's welcome in Egypt because of her constructive stances. And I would say also, I would mention here that she was opposed to the American-led invasion of Iraq.
Yes.
Germany and France were against the invasion, and also Germany in the year 2011, when they had the membership of the Security Council, they didn't endorse military action against Libya. So I think, so these are some remarks about the conference, and I think also that the Germans are to be complimented, because to my mind that they removed the restrictions 3-4 years ago regarding warning tourists not to come, and we expect more German tourists to come and enjoy the beach tourism and the antiquities of Egypt and all what Egypt could offer them.
Indeed, Ambassador Reda Farahat, former assistant to the foreign minister, thank you very much, sir, for your precious input. And a reminder that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held summit talks with visiting German Chancellor Angela Merkel at Al-Ittihadiyya Palace in Cairo on Thursday. During their meeting, President al-Sisi and Merkel discussed means of boosting bilateral ties in various domains, in addition to a number of regional and international issues of mutual concern. At a joint press conference, President al-Sisi stressed that Syrians should not be left in the hands of terrorists. He noted that Egypt does not have refugee camps, adding that joined by a business delegation, she will also hold talks with a number of economic specialists. On Friday, the German Chancellor will head to Tunisia, where she will hold talks with Tunisian President Beji Qaid Sibsi. Her Middle East visit is aimed at pushing to limit migrant flows to Europe through North Africa, especially Libya. Merkel has been under intense pressure to reduce the number of asylum seekers coming to Germany, which has taken in over 1 million migrants since 2015. And that, of course, is a reminder of the most important highlights that took place today. After the visit, which has started a few hours ago by German Chancellor Angela Merkel to Egypt. Of course, with Merkel accompanying delegation, a number of business officials, during which they are expected to meet with Egyptian businessmen as well. We have witnessed the press conference which was held a few minutes ago between both President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and, of course, the visiting German Chancellor Angela Merkel. And to shed more light, we have Ambassador Nabil Badr, former assistant to the Foreign Minister. Ambassador Nabil.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Sir, how do you see the importance of the current visit by German Chancellor Angela Merkel to Egypt, and of course her meeting with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and after that the joint press conference which took place a few minutes ago?
I think it is important in different respects. The first thing is it certainly reflects a recognition of the Egyptian role and importance, and sustaining that effort and trying to coordinate with it is very important. And this is something of great significance when it comes to terms of security to both countries. In other words, as you know, our part of the world is in big trouble. You just look at the map and see what's happening in Libya, in Syria, elsewhere as well, together with the continuity of the Palestinian issue as is well known. And that reflects the danger not just of the continuity, but the aftermath of that if reconstruction is absent. That's one thing.
Yes.
The second thing is that has bred an atmosphere of terrorism. The fact is material, political, economic, and intellectual regrettably do exist. Yes. And this has been vastly exploited by certain extremist factors and factions, together with other forces, other elements coming from outside our part of the world, using that to realize certain privileges or certain special situations. Now, I mean, it's the whole thing. It is obvious that Egypt is different. It has certain difficulties, as is well known. There is an important political evolution in the right direction. You have a stable government, you have an elected president, you have a parliament. Yes. And in spite of any remarks here or there, they are there on the spot and they're working and they are bound to develop and perform always in the right direction. That's one thing. The second thing is, yes, we have our problems of terrorism and the furthest point in Sinai in the West, but that's under control, and we are working hard and working seriously to eliminate that as much as soon as we might. Yes. Now, three, when it comes to certain circles that combine Egypt and Germany and their control, one of them is the Mediterranean circle, and we have been an effective partner in that circle since its outset in 1992, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And we have participated in the Barcelona Conference 1995, and we have worked hard to make the Mediterranean a lake of security, cooperation in different respects, economic, culture, otherwise. Yes. So, apart from the independent analysis or assessment of the degree of success or difficulties in this part of the Mediterranean, the fact is this has developed today into an atmosphere of illegal immigration targeting Europe, mostly using the South Mediterranean as an embarking point, and together with that have come also the extremist factions which spread horror, regrettably using the pretext of religion in certain form in a way which is completely unacceptable by Egypt. Now, once more, Germany appreciates quite well that if Egypt is fighting that on the material side, it is as well undertaking a vast responsibility in terms of the intellectual and cultural development to eliminate that. In other words, going back to the grassroots, which are wrong, which have been exploited and dealing with that accordingly. Naturally, I think it is quite obvious as well from the press conference and the elements which have been raised there that it was, quite realistic, down to earth, if I might put it that way, and it has really come to define exactly all the broad lines and major subjects, and certainly economy plays a great role. Now, the Egyptian experience with Germany has been a model of success, let me say, not simply in terms of achievement, efficient, technical cooperation, and that's a good thing, admitted by the Germans in terms of the efficiency of the Egyptian personnel, technicians, engineers with whom they work. But as well, I would say, and I think the Germans know that quite well, in terms of integrity as well. The deals which are being conducted, and they go back to billions of euros, have been clean-cut transactions in a model which is certainly could be pursued in other parts of the world and could be followed up as well by other transactions in Egypt.
Yes.
And there is also the potential which is back in terms of German cooperation in gigantic economic projects coming in the coming phase. So that's more or less an outline about some of the major issues, at least up to this point, which have been tackled on the meeting between President Sisi and Chancellor Merkel, which have shown up in the press conference, have been also talked about by the two leaders.
Yes. Sir, German Chancellor Angela Merkel is joined by a business delegation. She will also hold talks with a number of economic specialists. How do you see that could be affecting in a positive way the economy and the Egyptian-German relations on the economic level?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last part?
Chancellor Angela Merkel is joined by a business delegation. She will also hold talks with a number of economic specialists in Egypt as well. What is the significance of that?
It is important because, you know, in such meetings, the leaders meet and the broad lines are defined and the confidence building is being stressed upon, and all these are important factors.
Indeed.
The atmosphere which says, well, we're ready for cooperation, but the follow-up, the details and more technical details have to be tackled as well. Now, there are certain overtures which have been turned about when Merkel spoke about an extended economic help, which should be followed by another help, putting into consideration that Egypt hosts about 5 million immigrants, as we know, and we have not been fussy about that like other countries in this part of the world, and we have not made really big deals out of it. Anyway, to come back to the main theme, if economy certainly targeted, is certainly looked upon with great importance by the Germans, and that the background, whether that be historical, political, cultural, put it the way you like, that provides an atmosphere where cooperation is possible and can thrive. The thing is, such things cannot just be dealt with in one visit and one short encounter. No, as I said, these encounters confirm the confidence, help provide the atmosphere, and three, probably point at the priorities and at certain points that specify and characterize the situation of each part. But follow-up is the name of the game in the coming phase.
Indeed, Ambassador Nabil Badr, former assistant to the Foreign Minister, thank you very much, sir, for your precious input. And of course, we do remind our viewers that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held summit talks today with visiting German Chancellor Angela Merkel at Al Ittihadiyya Presidential Palace. During their meeting, President Sisi and Merkel discussed means of boosting bilateral ties in various domains, in addition to the number of regional issues of mutual concern and international issues as well. At a joint press conference which was held recently, President Sisi stressed that the Syrians should not be left in the hands of terrorists. He noted that Egypt does not have refugee camps, and he said that more than 5 million refugees are being hosted by Egypt and treated as citizens. The president also reiterated that Egypt is keen on realizing human rights. For her part, German Chancellor Angela Merkel said that both Egypt and Germany had agreed to coordinate efforts to fight terrorism and solve problems of the borders as well. She promised to support the Syrian refugees who are in bad need for help. The two leaders today, later on, will inaugurate a power plant established by Siemens. Starting a two-day official visit in Egypt, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel was received by Prime Minister Sharif Ismail at the Cairo International Airport. During her visit, Merkel is scheduled to meet with Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmad al-Tayyib, as well as Pope Tawadros II, the Pope of Alexandria, and the Patriarch of the Holy Apostolic See. Joined by a business delegation, Merkel will also hold talks with a number of economic specialists. On Friday, the German Chancellor will head to Tunisia, where she will hold talks with Tunisian President Beji Qaid Sibsi. Her Middle East visit is aimed to push to limit the migrant flow to Europe through North Africa, especially from Libya. Merkel has been under intense pressure at home to reduce the number of asylum seekers coming to Germany, which has taken in over 1 million migrants since 2015. And we are joined by Dr. Amr Hamid. He is an economic expert to shed light on the visit. Mr. Amr.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Mr. Amr, we have to say that the visit by German Chancellor Angela Merkel to Egypt is of a very special significance on the economic level. She is joined by the head and CEOs of more than 19 companies, a very huge number of business delegation is accompanying Merkel in her visit. She will witness today with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi the inauguration of power plants which were made by Siemens. So how do you see the significance of the visit on the economic level?
Well, we have to realize first that the economic file of this visit is not as important as the political / strategic file.
Indeed, of course.
Yeah, why? Because of two reasons. First of all, as you know, that Mrs. Merkel is running for her election by this autumn, which is by September, October of this year.
Yes.
And lately, by November, December, another very important opponent, Mr. Martin Schulz, who is the president of the president of the European Parliament, appeared as a major competitor for Mrs. Angela Merkel. So, the main objective of her visit is to campaign for her re-election, especially when it comes to the file of the illegal migrants, the trafficking to Europe from Africa and from Egypt. That's number one. Number two is that tomorrow she's going to Tunisia as well for the same purpose. So we have to realize that this is the main objective, in addition to the question of the human rights and the Berlin Declaration, which was signed by Egypt and Germany in the aftermath of the 25th of January revolution in 2011. If you want to speak about the economic part of the visit, which again is not really a major, though it is declared to be of importance, but we know that practically it is not. Germany is a major trade partner with Egypt. It's our second export country and our fifth import country. So it's really a major and very important trade partner with Egypt. And as you know, she is going to open one of the power plants out of 3 power plants financed by Germany in Egypt. And let me rely also on a declaration that was made, I think, yesterday or the day before yesterday by the German ambassador in Egypt, when he said that, yes, of course, because of the location of Egypt and the importance of Egypt in the area, from a business standpoint, they have, the German, they have interest in Egypt. However, investors, and this does not only apply to German investors, but European investors or foreign investors in general, they want to see very solid grounds, very solid laws for investment and business available in Egypt before they really go with direct investments in Egypt. The government, he said that the German government is not going to interfere in this. It's very important that we provide first the right atmosphere for business, and then they would, of course, come.
Yes. Sir, of course, German Chancellor Angela Merkel is heading tomorrow to Tunisia to meet with Tunisian President Beji Qaid Sibsi in order also to tackle the issue of refugees and asylum seekers due to the pressure imposed on her at home. So what's your take on that?
Okay. The importance of Tunisia is that if you remember the last terrorist attack in Germany was, there was a Tunisian behind it.
Yes.
And this Tunisian criminal, if I may call, is still now in Germany and is not handed over to Tunisia yet. So this is going to be very important.
Yes.
And there is about 1,500 Tunisians applying for political asylum in Germany. And by the way, there is also about 2,700 Egyptians also applying for asylum in Germany. So the idea is the trafficking, because as you know, Tunisia and Egypt, Libya in the middle, but Tunisia and Egypt are like a transit source of trafficking because of the Africans. They all come to Egypt or Tunisia so that they can sort of cross the Mediterranean towards Europe, and a lot of them go to Germany. And don't forget that there is also a lot of Syrians that are fleeing the war in Syria, and a lot of them are living in Egypt right now, and could also represent a source of trafficking to not only to Germany but to Europe in general. So part of our objective is to negotiate with the Egyptian government, establishing border guards or cross-border guards financed by Germany in Egypt here, and at the same time providing a lot of vocational training for those who are seeking asylum in their neighboring countries, which is not necessarily Syria per se, but it could be Egypt. How can you train these people vocationally under some kind of German umbrella so that they can be more productive where they are right now without going to Europe?
Yes, indeed. Dr. Amra Hamid, our economic expert, thank you very much, sir, for your precious input. And of course, that was our special coverage for the current visit by German Chancellor Angela Merkel to Egypt, where she met with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi today in El Ittihadiyya Palace. After their summit talks, they hold a bilateral joint press conference during which they tackled many issues of mutual concern, as well as the file of terrorism and the regional files like the Syrian file, of course, and the file of asylum. Also today, later on in the day, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and German Chancellor Angela Merkel are expected to inaugurate a power plant station which was made by Siemens, the German company. Merkel also is expected to meet with Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmad al-Tayyib, as well as the Pope of Alexandria, Pope Tawadros II. Of course, a two-day official visit by German Chancellor Angela Merkel will take her also tomorrow to Tunisia, where she is expected to meet with Tunisian President Beji Qaid Sibsi. That was our special coverage for the visit by German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Stay tuned for more updates coming up on Nile TV International.